AI tool integrations fail within 6 months. So in this week, Tara Lee and I are talking about the thing that quietly stops AI working, and even when the tools are there and in place. And the thing that quietly stops AI working is actually culture. Because most organizations don't fail with AI because the technology doesn't work. Technology is very good now. They fail because culture doesn't support people using it and in that transformational process. My name is Laura Chattington. I partner with companies to embed AI into work streams so that they can unlock profit, save time, add more value, and fully leverage AI to scale what they do without sacrificing their sanity. I am here with Tara Lee, who has 20 years in health, social care, and the third sector with deep experience in commissioning, delivery, and change, with a background of commissioning of over £500 million. And together, we help organizations embed AI into their organizational rhythm using the tools that they already have and aligning specifically technology with culture to make sure it sticks. So culture, let's go.
Culture. So culture isn't what's written down in strategies. So lots of organizations now, they might have an AI strategy, an AI policy, etc. Culture is not about that. Culture is about what people feel safe in doing. It's the behaviors that happen within an organization. Sometimes it's what isn't said, which is the most important. Sometimes it's what people avoid. It's how mistakes within organizations are handled. It's how we're allowed to feel like we can test, experiment, etc. And when we're thinking about embedding AI in organizations, this is the stuff that surfaces really quickly, because AI requires us to test. It requires us to experiment, and experimenting is cultural. So we can't embed without culture.
Yeah.
So what we thought we would do today is try and talk a little bit about 3 key cultural traps that might stop organizations sticking with AI and might stop embedding it and getting the most out of AI in your organizational rhythm.
And it's right, because lots of organizations are they're using tools, they're using AI tools, they're training their staff. This is about making sure the AI sticks. So the first key cultural trap is actually psychological safety.
Absolutely. So safety in testing and trying. Now, if your organization and the culture within your organization rewards certainty, definitives, must get right first time, then AI won't get used. It won't get embedded. People will sit there and they may not say these things, but they'll worry about asking questions. Am I going to look silly if I ask a particular question? They're going to worry about looking unskilled. They're going to be focused on certainty and perfection and not testing, which quite often we know is imperfect to start with, because we need to practice to make perfect. But what that means is they don't try.
And I think you're right, and that I've worked in environments where I'd spend an hour on an email because it had to be 100% right, and I'm dyslexic, unable, I miss words, and actually using AI is an iterative process, and
Absolutely.
People need to feel like they can ask the wrong questions, and they're also feeling the pressure of not being skilled in AI as well. So there's so many different layers of that kind of psychological safety that organizations really need to dial in and make sure everyone is feeling safe. So that's sort of one area that's really important when it comes to making AI stick in the organization. The second one is actually, again, talking about people and culture in organizations. It's all about trust and intent, and it's not something people say out loud. Again, you said this all the time. It's not something that they say out loud, but it's what they're thinking, right?
Absolutely. So why people will be sitting there thinking quite often, why is my organization really looking to introduce AI? What's the agenda that's sitting behind using AI? And I guess sometimes, certainly what we see is that if trust is low, if it's unclear in terms of some of the way we communicate why we're introducing new tools and how that might potentially support our staff, what that can sometimes feel a bit like for people is surveillance. It can feel a little bit like performance monitoring. And I guess some of the narrative we know we've heard quite a lot is AI is going to replace me, and it's going to replace what I do. And you know, these are real things for people in terms of worries and concerns. But what it does mean, you know, we then get resistance in terms of thinking about AI, and then obviously driving the potential outcomes and impact that AI can do in terms of, you know, supporting organizations. So we really need to talk to and name quite early on about the reason we are looking at implementing new solutions and what the benefit will be for our staff.
For the work, excuse me, for the workforce. And you're right, everybody is sitting there in every workforce going, am I going to lose my job? That's the first place that they are, if you know. And so that trust of why, as an organization, we have to start embedding AI into what we do needs to really go hand in hand with trust. And it really is becoming, you know, I was talking to someone the other day, and it's becoming part of it's part of the HR agenda, is people have to be upskilled to, you know, do their jobs now with AI. So you can't just throw stuff at people. You've really got to build that trust and you know, make sure they feel that that, you know, their job is secure, and this is a way of enabling them to do their job and do more of what they want to do and the value that they bring. So number 3, and the last one we're going to be talking about today, is actually leadership behavior. And people, annoyingly, don't just follow AI strategy or any strategies, do they? Well, everything is easier without the people, but it is about the people, and they don't follow AI strategies. So,
well, it's that age-old saying, isn't it? You know, lead by example. And if people and our staff can see our leaders modeling certain behaviors, they then are more likely to come on the journey of change with us and look at testing and modeling some of those behaviors themselves. So where leaders don't use AI themselves, and or they've talked about it in really abstract ways, but without practical and tangible examples, or where the testing of AI is not modeled from the front and from the center, and that is delegated down, then AI stays theoretical, because we're not practically modeling from the front. So where a leader might say something like, you know, here's an example of how I've used AI. This is where I've saved my time, but also I'm still learning about this, but I'm testing. That gives our staff permission to really feel like, okay, well, I can have a bit of a go at this. I don't have to get it perfect. We're trying to think about how this might work for us in our organization. And that gives people the mandate and the confidence then to think about how they might practice using AI in their practice. And then you start to see the return.
So before we go, we should talk about what are organizations actually getting this right, doing differently? What do people have to do to really get this AI embedded and comfortable with their workforce?
So a great start for any organization that's thinking about trying to embed AI into their day-to-day practice is normalize learning out loud. Normalize this as being a change program. We know that upskilling people without supporting people to practice is one of the things that means AI solutions fail. So let's normalize that and talk about that up front. You know, we need to support our staff to make space before to practice, before we start expecting speed and outcomes. People have got to test. They've got to work out what works, what doesn't work. These are the bits I think that it can add value to. These are the bits that actually I still need to hold a ring on, etc. So we need to allow people to give them space to practice and to not always get things right.
Yeah.
Set those boundaries around use. Really good for people to have some guardrails around when we use AI and when we don't use AI in our practice. And also, as we've all said all the way through this series, keeping that human element in the mix and human oversight critical and important.
100%.
And support our leaders by going first.
Yeah.
Enable our leaders, model behaviors, and then support our staff around building that into day-to-day practice. So practice makes perfect in this space. We know that this is about rhythm, organization, testing. So practice, and then we will see the change come and follow. But over time, capacity comes back for people in terms of outcomes. And that's where people get that breathing room and that space, which is the whole point of us focusing on AI in this series.
So all really good strategies and advice in terms of embedding AI into your organization. But if your AI isn't landing in the organization, don't start by blaming the tools. Look at the culture, because the real question isn't, do we have the right AI? The question is, have we built a culture that lets people use it? And Tara-Leigh, you've been pulling out those really key points that people need to be considered. But if you want to embed AI in the way that actually sticks, using the tools you already have without overwhelming your people or eroding the trust, and building that culture for transformational change, then connect with us in LinkedIn and let's have a conversation. Next week, we're demoing live. We're doing some demos.
Exciting.
Right. Very exciting of what actually, and the first one we're going to be doing is what embedding AI into your procurement process looks like, so that you can save money and hours and days of your time. So don't miss that, and we will catch up with you next week. See you then.